Welcome everybody to Riverhead Free Library's Fireside Chat for December 2020. I'm here with the digital librarian, Kelsey.
Hi.
And I'm Andrea, the outreach librarian. Today we're going to talk about a few picks, personal picks, and some holiday books for December.
The holidays, yeah.
For December,
Yeah.
for 2020. All right,
Here we go.
We're going to start with my picks first. I have 2 nonfiction books and 3 fiction books. Our first nonfiction book is called Big Friendship, How We Keep Each Other Close. I think we have a tendency as a society, people, to prioritize our romantic relationships, and Big Friendship is about how we can keep our platonic friendships strong and how we can keep our friends close to us, especially during the pandemic when we can't engage in other social behaviors like going to bars or even hanging out at people's houses, going to the movies. I think this book could be really important for strategies and examples of how people keep close friendships, which I think are, especially in stressful times like these, are very, very important to maintain. So our second nonfiction book is The Writer's Library, which talks about the favorite books and the most influential books of influential authors today. Also, a really cool side fact is Nancy Pearl is like an iconic librarian. When you think of a librarian, you're thinking of Nancy Pearl. She is like the person that you would go to for a book recommendation, the person that knows facts automatically, who's sitting at the big desk at the library, cat-eye glasses, ready to tell you anything that you need to know.
And being ready to shush you.
Being ready to shush you, yes. Also, really funny, she has not one, but multiple action figures.
Oh, man.
Like actual doll action figures, and they have accessories like books, and a fountain pen I think is in one. So that is how famous this librarian is. She is very well known, not so much on the East Coast I would say, although obviously this book is available everywhere. She is a librarian in Washington State, so other coast, but still pretty impressive.
Yeah. I mean, having action figures.
I personally, yes, action figures, the dream.
Yeah.
I personally really love sharing books. Kelsey will tell you, I give her a new book recommendation at least every day, pretty much.
Yeah.
Every other day.
Yeah.
At the very least.
At the very least.
I love being able to talk to people about the books that I read, and I find that so many books that I've read have a really profound influence on my life. So this is a book about authors that you love and the books that have had really profound effects on their lives. So I think it's a really great read. Now onto the fiction books. The first fiction book that I have is A Deadly Education, and it is about a school for the magically gifted. So Harry Potter-esque feels there. As a millennial, I think anyone who's read the Harry Potter books when they're young is still kind of waiting for their Hogwarts letter in the mail. Maybe even some of the older fans of the book too. And I'm really a big fan of books that where, suddenly there's magic. You're just going about your normal day and suddenly you're invited to a school and you find out your life is so much different than you ever thought it was going to be. So this, I think, is a little bit darker than the Harry Potter series, even though
Harry Potter is pretty dark.
It's pretty dark on its own. A lot of death and destruction in that series. But I think it automatically has a more sinister feel to it, whereas Harry Potter starts light, and then as you get older with Harry, the books get darker. This book, I think, starts, from the very beginning, it says right there in the summary, failure means certain death. So that this is a school that you have to have your wits about you. And I like the idea I just love the idea of a school for magic.
Is there a library for magic?
There's actually a book about a library of magic. More coming on that, I guess. Yeah. If you have questions about that book, come to the Riverhead Library, ask the reference desk. But this is more of like a dark take on that whole trope, School of Magic, which I also think very good read. More of the fantasy side. The next book that I have is called Ring Shout. It is about the KKK in the 1900s, early 20th century of America. I think usually this is a more science fiction-esque. I mean, it has fantasy aspects too. This is a little bit of both, a mixture here. My favorite genres are science fiction, fantasy, and mostly for escapism. So I tend to shy away from books like these that deal with real things that have happened. You know, was a very serious and tragic time in America's history, and I think it's really important to realize that and acknowledge that, but also when I read a book, it's not automatically something that I want to focus on, you know, or the real tragedies that we always have to deal with. I kind of want escapism. But the reason that I was drawn to this book was because it deals with that difficult subject matter, but it also gives you like a sci-fi magic kind of alternate explanation for the KKK without diminishing the evil effects of it. It's not excusing them and saying, oh, this is what really happened. No, all blame is still firmly where it belongs, but we have kind of a magical, a more sinister and magical reason behind what influenced the racism and hatred that the KKK perpetuated, which I think is very, very interesting.
It is interesting.
With it, again, without removing the human aspect, which I think is very important to acknowledge. Like, this is a real thing that really happened, but here's also something else, which I like. So that's Ring Shout. And the final book that I have is called Hench. And okay, so I don't know if it's only me, but who else is so frustrated? Have you ever noticed in action movies how many people die? Civilians?
Yeah.
Like when there's massive destruction is happening. Buildings are falling. There are people in those buildings.
Yeah.
Like hundreds, thousands of people. In action movies, always die. And I'm like, how do you like reconcile that? How do heroes reconcile all the damage that they do with being the good guys, right? So that always bothered me. This book is the answer. This book is called Hench, and it's about a low-level data entry person who works for a bad guy who is basically a henchman for the villain of the movie. But when the heroes swoop in, they do more damage to all of those seemingly innocent people that they're sworn to protect. Like, I think in this, she is the main character is Anna is very badly injured, and some of her friends die because of a heroic influence coming in to save the day. So it's about kind of how Anna reconciles working for a bad guy with making money in a world where jobs aren't readily available, and also how, you know, morality and doing good are two very different things. You could be doing the right thing, but still doing awful, awful damage. So this is a great book. I haven't read it yet, so I'm giving this recommendation without having read it, but it is on my to-read list, and I'm very excited to read it. It has great reviews. All right, and I think next we're gonna move on to Kelsey's picks.
All right, so I have a couple of different picks. Okay, so the first one is Break an Egg, the Broadway cookbook. So if anyone knows me, I really love Broadway, especially the Phantom of the Opera, because I have curly hair and they have curly hair. It's a thing.
Christine has curly hair,
Yeah.
the main character in Phantom of the Opera.
All the ballerinas have curly hair.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
You have to rewatch it. It's fine.
I don't know if that's I think that's definitely not a thing in the movie. Maybe in the original Broadway.
In the Broadway.
Oh,
yeah.
I had no idea. I've only ever seen the movie.
When Broadway reopens, I think you should definitely go. But in the meantime, we can make food based off of Broadway. So, for example, talking about Phantom of the Opera, we can make angel food cake. And it says here, it's guaranteed to bring down the chandelier. So it has different illustrations and photography to help us with different seasonings and just to make the fun food. Yeah. Okay, so next we have So Jewish, 18 projects you need for Jewish holidays, which is awesome because I'm always looking for the next thing to make for the holidays. So here you have different step-by-step instructions where you can make Passover matzah covers, different blankets or shawls, the prayer shawl that we use. You can also do a baby blanket, which I think is really fun. So the next one we have is a bookshop in Berlin, which I read just a couple of months ago, I think. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, but I saw this book immediately and had to pick it up. Actually, Andrea recommended it to me. You did? Yeah, okay. And then I saw it and I had to pick it up. So this is about Françoise Frankel, who is a Jewish woman from Poland, and she has this dream of running a bookshop in Berlin. And so she actually makes that happen, of course, in a horrific time with the Nazis. But I think it's a great book, and I know that Andrea was speaking about historical things during the time, but I think that also it's also really important to read books like this to keep them going. And so basically, Françoise opens this bookshop in Berlin, and different things happen where hundreds of Jew shops and businesses are destroyed and people are being persecuted, and it's her story of escaping.
Yeah. I think this one is also really interesting because it was originally published and then completely forgotten and found later just like sitting in an attic.
Yeah, and then they translated it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's insane.
That's crazy that someone's story can endure for so long and be so important. I mean, this is a really great account of a true and, like I said, tragic historical event, but it focuses on the people.
Yeah, and it's like written in the way of like a diary or a journal. So it's like you think it's like it's crazy to read it and think like, oh, this is a story, but it's also someone's real life, like with like the dialogue and everything. And I don't know.
And you think too, like you talk a lot about like Anne Frank's diary being like a account of, you know, what people went through during this the Holocaust, during this tragic time, but like how many other people do you know that have like this firsthand account?
Yeah.
And so this is a memoir, right? So it is. Yeah. Okay. So this is, you know, a firsthand account of something, and we don't have many of those. I think firsthand accounts, especially of this time, are getting rarer, or lost, or something that people want to avoid. And I think it's very cool and very just an important thing to read.
Yes. And also, side note, next month for the book discussion, we are going to be reading Silko's Journey. So if you read The Tattooist of Auschwitz, this is the second book, but you can also just read it by itself because it's just as good. But yes.
I know, that's a very popular book,
The
Tattooist of Auschwitz. People ask for it all the time in the library.
But the second book is really good.
I didn't know that Silko's Journey was a sequel.
Yeah, but it's also a standalone. But if you want that, you can come to the library and get that. That's available. So next we're going to talk about Frida in America, which is about the Mexican artist. And this was actually about the time that she was traveling to the United States. So this talks about her time there and the different tensions or food that she ate, and it's just like her experience in America. This is something that's been on my list for a little bit, and I think that it's really a different look at her life. I don't know, do you have anything to say?
Well, I was just going to say, I find it really interesting that Frida Kahlo is so influential, especially right now in her fashion. Her art is very iconic, but I feel like not a lot of people know that much about her.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially like her time in America. I didn't know very much about it. Like until I looked it up after I had saw that Kelsey made this pick. I, did a little Googling. A little Googling, as one does.
As a librarian does.
As any librarian would do. But yeah, I think it's really interesting that, I mean, her face and her style is like very automatically recognizable. Even if you don't know who she is, you know the style.
Yeah.
Even if you can't name a single one of her paintings, any of her art. I think she also did photography. Any of her
I think
artwork.
so, yeah.
You know who Frida Kahlo is just by look. You could tell, So it's I think it's really interesting to, take that kind of like iconic person and, go dig a little deeper, find a little bit more out.
Learn a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the next one is A Princess for Christmas, which I saw the name for this, and I think there's also a movie called A Princess for Christmas
on Netflix
that I love. So yeah. So
there's actually several Netflix movies that are about princesses during Christmas.
They have to be. We love that stuff. But yeah, so I saw this and I thought that this was, one of those cutesy little Christmassy books that I love reading. So this is about Leo Richie, who is driving a cab, and he picks up this woman named Marie, and she's actually a princess. So then it follows their little journey together. I think that's so cute.
It's a little love story.
Sometimes you need a little fluffy book to keep you going.
Yeah.
Especially now, during the pandemic.
It's the escapism of it all.
Yeah.
We love romance and fantasy and fiction in general.
Exactly.
I mean, you can't really be a librarian and be indifferent to books.
That's
true.
That's true.
But yeah, this is a pretty good holiday trope too. If you're interested in more princesses for Christmas, Netflix definitely has at least 2 movies that are centered around this trope. And I know because I scroll Netflix often just to see what's out there,
I mean, you have to watch all of the Christmas movies.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yes.
Okay. So next we have our holiday picks.
So we don't have any summaries for these. The summaries are going to be available in the description. We have a PDF of this that's a little bit easier to read and also includes information about how to get books. So if you're looking for any one of these titles, we have information on some of our next slides and on the PDF that we're going to be sharing with you about how to get those books. So we're just going to show you some covers right now. The PDF includes summaries of all of these books, as well as the pictures, so that if you see something that you like, we'll go through them one more time and reverse them then back. If you see something that you like, you can jot down the name, title. You can call us, you can come in, or you can even send us an email. So we're going to go to our little information page. You can also find all of these books online. So you can use Libby or Overdrive, which are both available on your computer or on your mobile device. And all you need for them is your
library card.
Your barcode number on your library card. It's on the back, and the password associated with your account. So if you don't know what that is, you can always call us, or again, come in and we can figure that out for you.
Or we can just reset it too.
Or we can reset it, yes. And you can find these books in the library. So all of these books that we've mentioned, we own, the library has, they're available. So you can give us a call, we can put it on hold for you. You can stop by the library and just come and talk to one of us, Kelsey or Andrea, or any other librarian will be able to help you. Or you can send us an email. What you'll need to make sure the email has your name in it, because we want to know who you are, your library barcode, and the title of the book that you're looking for, and that's all you need to put it on hold. And we'll call you when the book is ready for pickup. In case you don't want to come in, or if you're not able to come into the library, if you want to do curbside pickup is still available. You can schedule an appointment anytime after the book is ready for you.
So if you guys have any questions, you can either put them in the comments of the Facebook Live, or if you're in our Zoom, you can put it into the chat in our Zoom, and we would be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah.
So it does look like we do have a chat.
See?
Dozens.
Dozens?
Dozens.
I don't know what that means,
I don't know.
Thanks.
Thanks for comment. Okay. Let's see if there's any. Oh, here's us. Is there any comments?
No. Oh, 2 comments.
Thank you for sharing your time and books. Oh, you're welcome.
Oh, thanks, Joanne. It was a pleasure talking to you guys.
Oh,
Oh, hi, Sandy. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. We're glad that you liked it. Okay, well, I think that we're done for today. We're going to sign off. Please make sure that if you like any of the books, we would be very happy to help you. Come into the library, give us a call, shoot us an email, and we'll maybe see you again for another Fireside Talk. Who knows? All right.
Until then, bye.